Welcome back. I gotta be honest, I didn't expect the previous video to get that many views and that much support. The nice comments really motivated me to want to finish the iceberg, and so that's what we're gonna do right here. This is the Slipknot Iceberg Part 2. We're gonna continue this right where we left off. Lust Disease. Lust Disease is an early demo song by the band that was put out in '97, which had Anders Kolsefni on vocals. The song was later reworked for their 2001 single Left Behind. I think it's kind of a bit of a stretch to say that it was an early version of Left Behind because not much else besides just that main riff was recycled, but it's still nice to check it out, just to hear where that origin of that riff came from. Clown .5 masks. Beginning in 2014, Clown began wearing an assorted array of masks modeled for the band's 5th album, .5 The Grey Chapter. It's said that he wears these based upon what mood he's feeling at the time, so I guess he has one readily available if he's feeling pissed off that day during a show, or at least I assume so. Or another if he's feeling very andric. Slipknot Marilyn Manson Gross Out Contest. While Manson and Slipknot were on tour with each other, it was stated that they would try to repulse one another through means like dancing around in their underwear or drinking their own vomit, which, yeah, is pretty fucking gross. I imagine it was done mostly for amusement for both bands, because when you're bored in a van for countless hours, you do absurd stuff like that to keep yourself busy, so it's no surprise. Okay, maybe you wouldn't drink your own vomit, but you know, there's people in positions like that when you're on the road for hours and hours that you do to keep yourself busy. Faith. Now you know we're really treading in some obscure territory here because you can't even find any information about this item through normal search means, but through the now defunct Slipknot Discord server, apparently Corey Taylor in the early days of the group dressed as a priest on stage, which garnered him the nickname Faith. That's about all I can remember because I heard this a while ago and I can't even find any pictures of him in this supposed outfit he used to wear, but that's what this entry is referring to. The Pale Ones. The Pale Ones is an early name that Slipknot used before they were Slipknot. When the band formed in September in 1995, they originally used the monkey or the Pale Ones before Jordison later on suggested that they start going under the name Slipknot due to the song of the same name that they wrote at the time. Craig Jones is an actual misanthrope. Continuing what I talked about in the last video, Craig Jones is a really interesting character. He doesn't talk much, he has a very disturbing demeanor, and this item on the iceberg is most likely referring to when the original singer, Anders, apparently made the implication that he's a misanthrope. From what I read, Anders was relatively creeped out by his personality and even went as far to state that the early Slipknot song Killers Are Quiet was actually inspired by Jones. There's no for sure telling if he's an actual misanthrope or not, but I think it's safe to say that if any member of Slipknot would have most likely ever been a serial killer, it's definitely Craig. Burger King copyright feud. Alright, so this one is a little funny and just straight up bizarre. For those of you who don't know, Burger King had a marketing campaign for their then new menu item chicken fries. The marketing consisted of TV ads that depicted a fictional hard rock band by the name of Cock Rock. This group consisted of 6 members, all of which wore chicken masks. I remember seeing these commercials on TV when I was a little kid and actually thinking they were really cool. This was around the time when chicken fries were a brand new thing, and I remember thinking that this type of advertising was pretty unique. But apparently Slipknot didn't feel the same because they decided to step in and felt like they needed to sue Burger King because this, fake band was, wearing masks. Yeah. I guess apparently Slipknot owns the copyright to play music and wear a mask simultaneously. Needless to say, this lawsuit was thrown out almost immediately because it was just flat out retarded. Never mind the fact that besides Mushroom Head, there's bands like Gwar, Ghoul, Portal, Imperial Triumphant, all of which wear masks. Like, I could go on. Hell, even Suicide Silence's old drummer Josh Goddard, he used to wear a mask. Like, come on Slipknot, why didn't you sue him? All in all, I just think this whole thing was a really bad look for the band because if there's anything I personally hate, it's people that believe they have some kind of upper hand or a power that be against somebody else just because they did something first. So like, even if it's like not blatant plagiarism, somebody still feels like just because someone else's like art or commercial or music or just anything slightly resembles what they did, they feel like they're entitled to financial compensation for it. I hate shit like that. I feel like it kind of kills the creativity of society. Like, just let people do what they want to do and let them be what they're inspired by. Like, unless someone's deliberately ripping you off, just leave them alone. That's what I have to say. It's like, I know I don't blame anybody for wanting money, but like, dude, come on. Did you really think you were gonna win a case like this? This tier is right about done, but before we finish it off, I figured it would be fun to add a little fan-made item, so that's what we're gonna do right here. Anal Blast contains early Slipknot riffs. This is just going to be a little quick one, but for those that don't know, there was a couple of early Slipknot members who took part in the grindcore band Anal Blast. If you don't know who they are, it was Paul Gray, Joey Jordison, Jim Root, Donnie Steele. They were all part of the band, if you can believe it or not. Just picture that, early Slipknot members playing death grind. Pretty cool. It's a pretty common trope for Slipknot members to recycle riffs, so with that in mind, if you listen to the demo tape Puss Blood Pentagram, you can find a handful of early Slipknot riffs on it. One of them being an early riff for what would become Eeyore. Green Day feud. I'm actually kind of surprised I never heard of this one before, because this is just nuts to me. Apparently in the year 2000, while Green Day were performing a set at the Virgin Megastore on London's Oxford Street, a fan threw a mask onto the stage, to which Billy Joe Armstrong picked it up, said the phrase, "We're Slipknot, fuck you," and then directly after that said, "Why don't you try writing a good fucking song for a change?" Oh, how ironic. I hate the fact that I share a birthday with this douchebag. Keep in mind, this was the year 2000 too, so this was like right when Slipknot were getting out into the wild and releasing their debut and making waves, getting clout. So I feel like this is kind of a really shitty thing for like a veteran band to say about an up-and-coming band. Body Pit and Heads on the Wall. I figured I'd just combine these two together since they're like both the same thing. They're both early bands that members of Slipknot were in before Slipknot existed. But yeah, Body Pit was a surprisingly decent death metal band from Des Moines, which existed around '94, and it contained Paul Gray, Anders, Donnie Steele, and Mick Thompson. Previously, only a handful of songs from their demo tape leaked online, but more recently, the entire tape has now been found and it's uploaded for listening. Like I said, it's actually not that bad. It kind of sounds like a Incantation Jr., if I could describe it. Heads on the Wall, on the other hand, I can't tell you much about that one. Not much is known about that band besides the fact that Sean Cran played in it. The lineup has been disclosed, and the track listing for their cassette has been disclosed as well, but as far as music goes, nothing has surfaced. I don't even know what it sounds like or what genre it is. Craig Jones' Wolf Mask. As if this iceberg doesn't have enough entries dedicated solely to Craig Jones, the deeper this runs, the more he gets talked about. The Wolf Mask is the epitome of rare Slipknot masks. There is no known occurrences of Jones ever wearing this mask other than this one picture of him during the mid-90s. This photo was taken in the studio while he was working on samples for Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat. Also, if this topic of really rare Slipknot masks interests you, I convince you to check out the House of Masks YouTube channel. It's maintained by a collector in Ohio by the name of AJ Good. He has a 3-hour video of Slipknot mask replicas, including the super rare ones that the members supposedly only wore like once, so you should check it out. Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat is about an RPG. The album Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat is actually inspired by an RPG video game known as Werewolf the Apocalypse. I feel like this is kind of more relatively known information, so I'm kind of surprised it's actually this low on the iceberg, but for those that don't know, 2 members of the band, I can't remember who at the moment, were fans of the game, so I guess, that's where a lot of the lyrical themes and such came from. Kun Nong, the member without a mask. Alright, I have a confession to make. I messed up on the last video. I already covered this on part 1, when I was actually supposed to talk about something completely different. When I saw Meld earlier in the iceberg, I thought it was referring to Kun Nong, but since I already talked about him, as you can see here. Anyway, Kun Nong, who's also known by the name Meld, was a very early guitar player for the band, who was known to only participate in about 6 rehearsals before he quit. We will now use this empty space on the iceberg to talk about a bonus entry. I feel like the iceberg is really well done, but if I had one criticism at all, it would be the omission of this item. So that's what we're gonna talk about right here, because I feel like this is just like the definitive missing piece of this iceberg. And that is jarred rotting crow carrion. Clown, in the early days, carried around a dead crow in a jar for a very long time, and him and many of the other band members would sniff it before going on stage, which would cause them to vomit almost immediately. It was stated that the longer that the dead bird decayed inside the jar, a type of gross, disgusting liquid would start to form at the bottom of it. And to top it all off, one day during a show, a herd of fans were said to have wanted to smell the dead bird as well, but once they got a hold of it and the jar shattered upon the ground, the fans began to eat the dead body of the bird, much to the horror of Sean and the rest of Knot. Now that's a cult classic Slipknot tale right there. I also find it really interesting that they said that they wanted to smell the bird so they could smell what death smells like before they go on stage, because didn't Dead from Mayhem do exactly that? He said that he kept a dead bird around and then smelled it so he could like sing with the stench of death in his nostrils or something. I'm pretty sure I saw that. Anyway, moving on to the final item of this tier. September 11th, 1999 Cleveland incident. Oh man, this is exactly why I love when iceberg videos get nearing to the bottom, because it's just straight nothing but bangers after bangers. Remember in part 1 when I said Slipknot didn't exactly have the best experiences in Ohio? Well, this is what this incident is referring to. On September 11th, 99 in Cleveland, the band were heckled by having shit thrown at them while they played on stage, but the band weren't having it. The footage shown right here depicts Jim and some other members jumping off stage to go fight some people that were heckling them. And it didn't just end right there either. Apparently it just shifted into one big brawl by the end of the night. When anyone ever speaks about any of the Slipknot / Mushroom Head controversy, this is definitely one of the key points of that whole topic. The mystery guy. Oh, you thought Kun Nong was mysterious. People don't even know who the hell this guy is. The mystery guy is somebody that sported the liar mask, which is a mask mostly attributed to Chris Fane, but it's been confirmed this guy isn't Chris Fane, but they don't know who the hell he is. He's somebody that appeared in a few Slipknot promos prior to the debut album, dating around 1998. It has been roughly narrowed down to about 3 candidates who this could possibly be, but nobody is for sure as of yet, and fans have been trying to figure it out for years. Craig Jones runs the website. There's not much to this besides just what the title says. Nothing more to it than just good old 133 being in charge of the Slipknot 1 website back in the day.
Every copy of Iowa is personal.
Just kidding. Cake tastes nice. This one is kind of funny and pretty interesting. Basically, in the early 2010s, a song started appearing on a number of guitar tablature websites under the title Cake Tastes Nice by Slipknot. When this started popping up, people started frolicking, trying to figure out what this song is. If it even is a real Slipknot song. And I don't even think, to this day, nobody has really gotten to the bottom of it. But in the end all, it's likely was just some big troll. Get This was directed at a specific band. If you've never heard the track Get This, it's a wonderful grindcore style song with aggressive tongue-in-cheek lyrics. It appears as a bonus track on the special edition of the group's debut album. I believe this item is referring to the belief that the lyrics of the song, such as I don't want to play a show with your shitty fucking band, were specifically targeted at a band that the group were pissed off at, but I don't really think that's the case, because the whole song lyrically just feels like one big frustration at the music scene in general. But even so, this is a pretty badass conspiracy theory, I'd have to say. And I guess that about wraps it up. Hi, I just wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to everybody that took the time to watch both of these videos. Slipknot was one of my most favorite bands when I was just starting high school, and I hope everybody had a great time seeing these just as I enjoyed making them. I had a lot of fun. I especially want to give a big shout out to the guy that made the iceberg to begin with, because without him I wouldn't have even had this content to make, so a big thank you goes to that guy. With that said, I left a link to Discord, Instagram, and some other stuff in the description, so check that out. With that said, I'm out. Thanks for watching.